The metallic wasteland stretched endlessly under a dull, crimson sky, littered with rusted ship carcasses, shattered star cores, and forgotten artifacts of alien civilizations. It was a place where hope came to die, where the galaxy's most advanced technologies were unceremoniously discarded like yesterday's trash. But today, the junkyard wasn't silent. Sparks crackled, and the air hummed with the pulse of machinery coming to life. In the heart of this scrapyard, a lone figure stood, a human, his face smudged with grease and resolve. Beside him towered a patchwork monstrosity of gears, plasma conduits, and ancient weaponry scavenged from a dozen different star systems. It didn't look like much, a clumsy fusion of junk held together by what seemed to be sheer audacity. Yet, it radiated a faint, pulsating energy that sent chills through the air. High above, the Galactic Council's observation vessel hovered, its sleek, polished hull a stark contrast to the chaos below. Inside, a gathering of the galaxy's most powerful beings sat in uneasy silence, their attention riveted on the holographic feed before them. Representatives from the Andari Collective, the Voidborn clans, and the Celestial Dominion, races that had ruled the stars for millennia, watched with a mix of scorn and fascination. "Is this some sort of joke?" hissed the Voidborn emissary, her voice a low rumble that reverberated through the chamber. Her translucent form shimmered, betraying her unease. "A weapon forged from garbage? This is an insult to galactic warfare." "No joke," replied a calm, measured voice from the human delegation. It was Commander Aiden Voss, the strategist behind humanity's improbable rise from a minor species to a growing power in the galactic arena. "What you see is the future, a weapon that will render your armadas obsolete." The Voidborn emissary laughed, a cold, otherworldly sound. "We've crushed 1,000 rebellions. Your primitive tinkering doesn't frighten us." Back on the junkyard floor, the human engineer, Riley Cole, wiped sweat from his brow and flipped a switch. The weapon roared to life, a blinding surge of light erupting from its core. The ground trembled as the air around it seemed to warp and distort. In an instant, the weapon discharged, a beam of energy unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It wasn't just destructive, it was alive. The beam twisted and turned, as if hunting its target with sentient precision. The observers gasped as the feed shifted to show a distant asteroid field. In moments, the beam struck a cluster of celestial rocks, vaporizing them into a fine mist. But it didn't stop there. The energy wave expanded, creating a ripple effect that bent space and time, leaving behind a glowing tear in reality itself. The Galactic Council chamber erupted into chaos. "What is that?" demanded the Andari envoy. "That's not a weapon. It's an abomination." Commander Voss leaned forward, his steely gaze locking onto the alien representatives. "It's human ingenuity," he said, "and it's just the beginning." The Voidborn emissary's laughter faltered. For the first time, fear flickered across her ghostly features. Humanity had done the impossible, turned their trash into a weapon that could reshape the galaxy. This wasn't the first time humanity had surprised the galaxy, but it was, without a doubt, the most alarming. For centuries, humans had been little more than a footnote in the annals of galactic history, an unremarkable species from a small blue planet on the outskirts of the Milky Way. Their technology lagged behind. Their resources were scarce, and their presence barely registered on the radar of the galaxy's great empires. Yet here they were, standing defiantly in the galactic spotlight, wielding a weapon that defied all logic. The Galactic Council chamber was a vast, gleaming amphitheater suspended in orbit above the neutral moon of Atraxis. Its architecture blended the organic curves of the Andari Collective with the stark, crystalline design of the Voidborn clans. Seated around the circular dais were the most powerful beings in the galaxy, each representing a civilization that had dominated the stars for millennia. They were conquerors, visionaries, and destroyers. And yet, for the first time in eons, they felt vulnerable. On a towering central screen, a live feed displayed the junkyard weapon in all its chaotic glory. Fragments of its activation rippled through the council like a storm. Whispers and shouts echoed through the chamber. "This is a breach of galactic law," thundered the Celestial Dominion's High Arbiter, his golden armor glinting under the chamber's ethereal lights. "No species is authorized to develop weapons capable of destabilizing the fabric of space." "Destabilizing the fabric of space?" murmured the Andari representative, her luminous eyes narrowing. "It obliterated an asteroid cluster and left a scar in reality. What kind of technology is this? And how did humans, primitive scavengers, achieve it?" The human delegation remained stoic. Commander Aiden Voss, the architect of this audacious gambit, stood with his hands clasped behind his back. His gaze was calm, unyielding, as if he had anticipated every reaction, every accusation. Behind him, Riley Cole, the engineer who had cobbled together the weapon from interstellar scraps, shifted nervously. He was no diplomat, just a tinker thrust into the heart of galactic politics. "It's not about what we achieved," Voss said, his voice cutting through the noise. "It's about why we achieved it." The chamber quieted, the weight of his words demanding attention. "For centuries, humanity has been dismissed, ignored, and exploited," Voss continued. "Our colonies raided, our resources stolen, our people left to fend for themselves in a galaxy that deems us insignificant. We adapted, we survived, and now we've done what no one thought possible. Turned your waste, your discarded technology, into something greater, something unstoppable." The void-born emissary leaned forward, her translucent form flickering with an ominous glow. "And what do you intend to do with this weapon?" Voss smiled, though it was a smile devoid of warmth. "That depends on you," he said. "We've created a weapon not to destroy, but to demand respect. Humanity will no longer be a footnote. We're here to stay." The stakes couldn't have been higher. For the first time in galactic history, the balance of power was shifting, and it had all begun in a forgotten junkyard on the edge of the stars. The first sign of trouble wasn't the weapon itself. It was the ripple it created. Not the physical distortion in space-time, but the shockwave of fear and doubt it sent through the galaxy's most powerful factions. Alliances that had held for centuries began to fracture under the weight of a single question. If humans could create something like this from scraps, what else were they capable of? The Voidborn clans were the first to react. Known for their dominance over interstellar trade routes, they couldn't allow an unpredictable force like humanity to disrupt their carefully curated balance of power. Within hours of the weapon's first demonstration, Voidborn ships blockaded the Junkyard planet. Their emissary issued an ultimatum. Humanity would dismantle the weapon and surrender its blueprints, or face annihilation. Commander Voss had expected this. He gathered his team in the cramped war room aboard the Horizon's Edge, a human flagship barely a fraction of the size of the Voidborn dreadnoughts. The air was thick with tension. Riley Cole sat at the edge of the room, nervously tapping his foot, while Admiral Sarah Kane pored over tactical readouts with a furrowed brow. "We can't fight them head-on," Kane said bluntly. "Their fleet outnumbers ours 20-1, and their tech is generations ahead. We're not going to fight them," Voss replied, his voice calm but resolute. "We're going to outthink them. Riley, how soon can you modify the weapon to target a moving fleet?" Riley blinked, caught off guard. "Modify it? Are you serious? It's barely holding together as it is." I need more parts, more time." "You've got 12 hours, Voss interrupted. "Make it work." As Riley scrambled to reconfigure the weapon, the Voidborn blockade tightened. A skirmish broke out on the outskirts of the planet's atmosphere, where a handful of human corvettes clashed with Voidborn fighters. Humanity wasn't just outmatched, they were outclassed. But their unpredictability kept the Voidborn commanders on edge. One such moment occurred when a human pilot, instead of retreating from a superior Voidborn vessel, sent his damaged fighter hurtling toward it at full speed. At the last second, he ejected, leaving the Voidborn ship to collide with a derelict satellite loaded with explosives. It wasn't just bravery, it was ingenuity. and it forced the Voidborn to rethink their strategy. Back in the war room, tension reached a boiling point. Reports of civilian casualties trickled in from the colony below. Riley worked furiously, his hands trembling as he fused alien tech with human ingenuity. "This isn't what I signed up for," he muttered, soldering a cracked plasma conduit. "I just wanted to fix things, not make them worse." But Voss's voice cut through his doubts. "You're not making things worse. You're giving us a chance to show them we're not prey. We're survivors." When the 12 hours were up, Riley stood before the weapon, now gleaming with new modifications. Outside, the Voidborn fleet prepared for an all-out assault. The countdown began. Humanity's future hung in the balance, and the galaxy watched with bated breath. Event 1. The Junkyard Siege. The Voidborn clans initiated their attack with calculated precision, sending a fleet of sleek, black warships into orbit around the Junkyard planet. Their message was clear. Humanity had to surrender the weapon or face extinction. For the first few hours, it seemed humanity would crumble under the pressure. The situation began to change when Riley Cole, desperate to protect his improvised creation, made a last-minute modification to the weapon. He integrated a Voidborn communication relay he had scavenged, allowing the weapon to eavesdrop on enemy fleet transmissions. Suddenly, the humans weren't just surviving. They were anticipating Voidborn tactics before they unfolded. When the Voidborn flagship moved into a strategic position to unleash a barrage of plasma torpedoes, the weapon fired. Instead of directly targeting the flagship, it created a gravitational anomaly that flung a nearby debris field into its path. The resulting collision tore through the Voidborn formation like a knife through butter. The galactic audience, watching through intercepted broadcasts, was stunned. The Voidborn clans were infamous for their tactical superiority, yet humanity had outmaneuvered them with scraps and ingenuity. Whispers of admiration and fear spread across the galaxy. Event 2. The Andari Collective's Test. Unnerved by humanity's sudden rise, the Andari Collective proposed a diplomatic test. They claimed their intention was peaceful, to assess the weapon's capabilities in a controlled environment. Humanity, wary of being ambushed, reluctantly agreed. The test took place on the neutral moon of Xylathra, where the Andari set up an elaborate obstacle course of automated drones and simulated planetary shields. "We merely wish to understand your technology," the Andari envoy said, her luminous eyes betraying her skepticism. As the countdown began, Riley activated the weapon. It hummed with power, emitting a pulsating beam that snaked through the course like a living entity. The drones were obliterated in seconds, their remnants scattering like dust. The planetary shield, a state-of-the-art defense system, cracked open as if it were made of glass. But the unexpected came when the weapon's energy began to expand uncontrollably. The gravitational anomalies it generated started pulling debris from orbit, threatening to destabilize the moon's ecosystem. Riley scrambled to shut it down, his heart pounding. "This wasn't supposed to happen," he shouted, his hands flying over the controls. The Andari, witnessing the destructive potential firsthand, withdrew their envoy from the test site. "This is not a weapon. It's a catastrophe waiting to happen," their leader declared. The galaxy now saw humanity not only as a rising power, but also as a dangerous wild card. Event 3. The Celestial Dominion's Retaliation. The Celestial Dominion, unwilling to let humanity disrupt the status quo, declared an embargo on human-controlled systems. Trade routes were cut, and vital resources were blockaded. Starving colonies pleaded for relief. In response, Voss devised a daring plan. The weapon would target a Dominion supply fleet heading for their capital. When the weapon activated, it didn't just destroy the fleet. It severed their hyperspace lane, isolating their core worlds from their outer colonies. The move was devastating, sending shockwaves through the Dominion. Galactic audiences erupted in debate. Some called humanity's actions reckless and destabilizing. Others hailed them as revolutionary underdogs. What was clear to all was that humanity with their Junkyard weapon, had forced the galaxy to reckon with their presence and their potential for chaos. These escalating events showcase humanity's ingenuity, the weapon's unpredictability, and the galaxy's growing fear. The stakes were no longer about survival. They were about redefining power in the universe, the Voidborn's tactical adjustments. The Voidborn clans, accustomed to crushing rebellions with overwhelming firepower, initially believed brute force would bring humanity to its knees. Their strategy relied on precise formations, advanced weaponry, and psychological warfare. However, humanity's unpredictable tactics and the Junkyard weapon's erratic but devastating capabilities made their usual playbook obsolete. Desperate to regain the upper hand, the Voidborn attempted to neutralize the weapon by deploying an energy-dampening field. The theory was sound: disrupt the weapon's power source, rendering it inert. But humanity had anticipated this move. Riley Cole, in a moment of desperate ingenuity, had integrated multiple redundant power systems, each scavenged from alien tech. When the dampening field activated, the weapon seamlessly switched to its secondary system, an experimental antimatter core. The resulting counterattack obliterated the Voidborn's dampening field generator and half their fleet. For the first time, the Voidborn faced a foe who not only outmaneuvered them, but did so with technology they considered obsolete. They withdrew, reeling from their defeat, vowing to rethink their approach. The Andari's intellectual approach. The Andari Collective, known for their intellectual superiority and diplomatic finesse, believed they could outsmart humanity. They initiated a series of negotiations, proposing elaborate trade agreements and peace treaties that were, in truth, riddled with traps. The aim was to exploit humanity's supposed naivety and gain access to the weapon's blueprints. Commander Aiden Voss, however, had studied the Andari's methods extensively. He played along, signing their agreements with a charming smile, while ensuring the fine print always worked in humanity's favor. In one instance, the Andari attempted to seize control of a human-controlled mining colony under the guise of a joint resource-sharing initiative. Voss countered by activating the weapon in a nearby asteroid belt, sending a clear message: humanity's resources were not up for negotiation. The Andari, frustrated and baffled, were forced to back down. Their envoy later admitted, human diplomacy is a paradox. They speak with the kindness of allies, but act with the precision of predators. The Hive Consciousness Experiment. The Hive Consciousness, a collective of millions of telepathically linked beings, decided to mimic humanity's strategies. Believing that humans thrived on individualistic ingenuity, the Hive temporarily fragmented its collective mind into autonomous units. The plan was to outhuman the humans. What followed was chaos. Without their shared consciousness, the Hive's individual units began to argue, contradict each other, and in one instance, declare an independent Hive republic. Meanwhile, humanity exploited the confusion, offering diplomatic support to the rebel factions within the Hive. The experiment collapsed, and the Hive reluctantly returned to their collective state, vowing never to fracture again. The Celestial Dominion's final solution. The Celestial Dominion, the galaxy's oldest and most powerful faction, resorted to drastic measures. They planned to deploy a superweapon, a neutron cascade bomb capable of erasing all life on Earth. The plan, however, was leaked, likely by a Dominion sympathizer disillusioned with their methods. In response, humanity turned the galaxy against the Dominion. They released intercepted communications detailing the plan, painting the Dominion as genocidal aggressors. Outrage swept through the galactic community. Even the Voidborn and Andari condemned the Dominion's actions, forcing them to abandon the plan and retreat into isolation. Humanity's ingenuity, adaptability, and ability to exploit their opponents' weaknesses left the galaxy reeling. Every attempt to counter their rise only solidified their position as an unpredictable and formidable power. The Junkyard weapon wasn't just a tool of destruction. It was a symbol of humanity's refusal to be underestimated. A closer look at human behavior. At first glance, humans seemed harmless, almost quaint in their approach to diplomacy. They were polite to a fault, their words wrapped in layers of niceties that confused and disarmed even the most seasoned negotiators. A simple phrase like, "Let's find a solution together," sounded cooperative but was often the precursor to a tactical checkmate. When humans smiled, their opponents mistook it for kindness, never realizing it was a carefully honed weapon of psychological warfare. What truly baffled the galaxy, however, was humanity's knack for finding opportunity in chaos. While other species relied on order and predictability, humans thrived on unpredictability. They had an uncanny ability to improvise, often turning their weaknesses into strengths. When faced with impossible odds, they didn't retreat, they adapted. Their approach to diplomacy mirrored their survival instincts, adaptable, resourceful, and relentless. But perhaps the most unnerving aspect of human behavior was their ability to feign vulnerability. They'd enter negotiations appearing disorganized, their technology cobbled together, their strategies chaotic. Yet, beneath this facade lay a mind capable of calculating every angle, every possibility. By the time their opponents realized the truth, it was too late. Humanity had already turned the game on its head. The galactic response. The galaxy's factions scrambled to adapt to the enigma that was humanity. Each species devised strategies to address the human problem, but none could fully predict the consequences of interacting with such an unpredictable species. The Andari Collective, known for their intellectual superiority, adopted a strategy of over-preparation. They brought in teams of psychologists, analysts, and linguists to dissect every word, gesture, and smile a human diplomat might use. Their efforts backfired spectacularly when a human negotiator accidentally mentioned their love for Andari art, triggering a 3-hour discussion about aesthetics and ending with the Andari signing an agreement they hadn't intended to negotiate. The Voidborn clans, unable to match humanity's creativity, resorted to outright avoidance. They banned humans from their territories and cut off communication. But humanity, undeterred, sent a rogue merchant ship filled with rare minerals scavenged from the Junkyard weapons tests. The minerals disrupted Voidborn energy shields, leading to a panic and forcing them to re-engage diplomatically to prevent further human gifts. Even the Celestial Dominion, proud and unyielding, found themselves in an unprecedented position. Their attempts to intimidate humanity were met with unexpected retaliation. The humans hacked into their communications network and sent them holiday greetings. The Dominion has since labeled humans strategically irrational, a term now synonymous with dangerously clever. The climax, the ultimate diplomatic incident. The Galactic Unity Summit was intended to be a showcase of interstellar harmony, a week of trade agreements, cultural exchanges, and carefully choreographed displays of power. But no one could have predicted the chaos that would ensue when humanity introduced their piece to resistance, a scavenger hunt. The concept baffled the galaxy's greatest minds. A game, scoffed the Voidborn emissary. This is beneath us. Yet, as humans enthusiastically explained that the hunt would involve exploring the summit's grounds to uncover hidden treasures representing each species, curiosity won out. Even the stoic Celestial Dominion agreed, seeing it as a harmless distraction. What followed was anything but harmless. Humans had planted tokens infused with harmless, yet unfamiliar electromagnetic signatures, designed to confuse sensors and lead participants astray. Andari scholars accidentally wandered into a human-engineered maze, where holographic puzzles forced them to negotiate with their Voidborn rivals. Meanwhile, the Hive consciousness, attempting to outplay humans, fragmented into smaller groups and promptly lost themselves in the process. The climax came when the Celestial Dominion envoy, chasing a rare treasure, activated a hidden beacon that unleashed the Junkyard weapon's signature energy field, sending holographic fireworks across the summit and disarming every ship's shields. What was meant to be a game turned into the galaxy's most absurd yet effective demonstration of humanity's ingenuity. By the end of the summit, one thing was clear. Humanity wasn't just rewriting the rules. They were redefining the game conclusion and warning. The galaxy would never be the same. What began as a quiet rebellion from the fringes of obscurity had evolved into a seismic shift in interstellar politics, technology, and trust. Humanity, once dismissed as insignificant, had proven that their greatest weapon wasn't forged from junk. It was their boundless ingenuity, their refusal to play by the rules, and their uncanny ability to turn the impossible into reality. The Junkyard weapon became more than a tool of destruction. It was a symbol, a declaration that no species, no matter how small or underestimated, could be ignored. But with great ingenuity came great unpredictability. The galaxy's most powerful factions now tread carefully, wary of humanity's next move, unsure whether they were dealing with visionaries or madmen. And yet, as the dust settled, a warning echoed across the stars. Humanity's rise had come at a cost. The weapon's unintended side effects had left scars in space-time, fractures that no one yet fully understood. If left unchecked, humanity's relentless drive for survival and innovation could destabilize the very fabric of the galaxy. The galaxy might adapt to humanity's methods, but the real question remained. Could it survive their ambition? Only time would tell.